And I'm in my Dixie.
And I'm Granny.
Welcome to Granny Women of Appalachia. Hi, Aunt Cindy here, and welcome to an edition of Home Crafting with a little bit of everything thrown in, from quilting to flowers, embroidery, crocheting, you name it, we give it a try. Now this is a quilt that I started when Anna was in college.
When did you first start quilting?
When I come out of the womb. No, I've always quilted.
Dixie couldn't even thread a needle. And then when she started quilting, we couldn't believe it.
Quilted, sewed. I've always done this stuff. Beads. I make jewelry. But I've got to put this one together.
What are some of your tips if someone's going to start quilting for the first time?
Lord, I don't know. Just go for it.
That's the best advice.
And you can always take it out if it don't look good. This is a set of pillowcases. So start with something simple. This is simple. First quilt I ever made was animals on a picnic. But this was...
I made the first year Anna and Thomas was going together. I made that for Thomas for Christmas.
That's nice.
It's all Bible verses.
And it's soft.
How many quilts do you think you've made?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. I made more baby quilts. I had big quilts. I usually make Anna a quilt every year. I make her a quilt, but I've not put one down this year. I guess that's what I'll do with some of my gift cards. Get the stuff to put one down.
And what's
I made this one
He never had one.
before I ever found a husband. The first time. That tells a story of find you a
I made
partner
this one for Anna
all the way
this
up till you make yourself his wife. But this was back probably in the 79 when I made this
year. I
one.
made that one for Anna.
That's pretty.
This one, my aunt made this one, and Phyllis went up there one day, and she said, I want to buy that quilt. And she bought that quilt from Aunt Vern, Daddy's sister. And she brought it over here and gave it to me. Said she wanted me to keep it.
It's beautiful.
But we don't have nowhere to store them.
This is a bedspread that Mama got me. Had a yard sale for 50 cents, and that's what she gave me for Christmas. And I hand embroidered every bit of it. It took me about 2.5 months. And then I put it together and then quilted it by hand. Everything's hand done on it. And I guess all total it took me maybe 5-6 months to get it completely done. Okay, here's another quilt I done a long time ago, probably 10-15 years ago. My mom also found this one at a yard sale, the pattern, for 50 cents, and brought it to me, and I embroidered all of it. and then I quilted it. I done all this, everything on this quilt is I did. I done all the quilting, all the embroidering, quilting it, everything. Quilted. I quilted this one several years ago, and embroidered all of it and quilted it all myself too. So I just love to do this. This is like a nerve pill for me. I can get under one of these quilts and quilt and take shopping trips and go out of country and everywhere sitting on my own couch. These were my baby quilts that I made for my grandkids.
How long does it take you to finish a quilt?
Phew. Well, that and I'm working on, I'm only doing like an hour at night. Guarantee. If I would work at it, I could probably do one in about 4 weeks, but I don't have time to do, just sit and do that. But it took me about 2 months to get this one just embroidered. Okay, I did find my jar quilt. I was about to go in a panic because I couldn't find it anywhere. But it is ready to go ahead and put down and start quilting. So since this is a smaller quilt, I am going to quilt it next because the others that I have that needs to be quilted are pretty big projects. And while I've still got a little bit of canning to do, I don't want to get a big project out. And this is not so big that it takes up tons of room. And I can sit on the couch or in the recliner or my little quilting rack. I've got a great big one, but I don't use it because it just takes up too much room. So I've got a small round one, and I can actually even take it outside on the front porch and quilt outside if I want to. Sheet down. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put my cotton on top of my sheet. And once I get my cotton on there, then I will put the pattern that I'm going to quilt, my quilt top, I'll put it on, and then I will take stick pins and I will pin it down and pin it together, and then in a way I can take it to the living room and I can start quilting on it. And I'll show you what it looks like once I get it all pinned down. Okay, I've got my quilt pinned down, and the reason I use a sheet is you don't have a seam on the back of it. So once I get it all quilted, I will go and trim all the way around the quilt, just leaving a little edge on it so that I can turn it up and bind it. Or sometimes we even make the binding to put on it, or you can buy the binding to put around it. But I'll leave it like this, and I'll put it on my quilt rack, and then after I get it quilted, I can trim everything that I don't need off of it, and it will be done. I have my quilt on my quilt rack, and I love this little quilt rack because you can adjust it any way you need to, up or down or tilt it, or you can actually even take the top off and not even use the stand. But it's just really handy, and it's small, and you can move it out of the way if you need to. I'm going to start quilting. I know my grandsons, they're not going to like it too good. They told me that they was never going to marry a woman that cooks, cans, and cleans. And I told them, well, the field's wide open because women and girls don't do that anymore. And what I'm doing right now, I have turned my quilt over to make sure that I have everything pulled tight. And I'll do this 3 or 4 times while I am quilting because I don't want any wrinkles in the back of my quilt. I want it to look as pretty in the back as it will in the front. And what I have, this quilt rack is actually on a stand, and this is a loop, so you can use it on the stand, or you can take it off and use it in a loop. And I like to quilt in this recliner, so I took it off and I'm quilting in the recliner on this loop. Quilting is a very, very slow process, but I just love to do it. And it just takes a long time. Now, if you're going to quilt on a quilting machine, you can do a quilt like in a day. But if you're going to hand quilt, then it's going to take you a couple months to get this quilt. Now, this quilt I'm working on is my awareness quilt. And normally when you're quilting, especially if you're quilting on a big quilt rack, you want to start in the middle and work out. If I'm working on a baby quilt or something like that, I'll start on the ends and work in. This one I'm starting on the ends, but once I get towards the middle, I'll flip it back around and I'll pull everything this way. Right now, I'm pushing everything that way to make sure that it's straight and everything stays in line. Now, it's still pinned down. I only take the pins out of what I am working on at the time. I'm trying to get it up where you can kind of see what I'm doing. But all you do is just, I have my right hand in under it because I'm left-handed. I quilt with my left hand, but I have my guider hand is in under it with the needle guiding it. And you just bring it in and out just like you're hemming something or something like that. I mean, it's really easy to do, and this one's kind of easier because I've got a pattern to go by. Now, if you want to quilt one with lines in it, I know years ago they would take a pencil and something straight edge and just draw lines, and then they would go quilt by those lines. But I have found out that if you use masking tape, which I do if I'm going to do anything with lines, I'll put my tape down and then I quilt along the masking tape, and I take it up, and then you don't have to worry about any pencil markings or anything like that on your quilt. It'll be just a straight line, and you don't have to worry about anything else on your quilt. You have to worry about it washing out when you wash it. So the masking tape, my opinion, you can get it in a couple sizes. I like to use the small. It's not maybe even a ½ inch. I use the smallest masking tape that they make. And to make my lines, I know Mom, she uses the bigger, but her hands are getting so bad that she just can't hardly quilt. And the one thing too, she gets excited and wants to hurry and get it done too. So she uses the bigger lines, and I use the smaller. It takes longer and it's more busier, but I think it turns out a lot more prettier. So this is all you have to do to quilt. It's a long process, but if it's really cold like it is this morning, 21, nothing to do much outside, then I just sit here and work on it through the day if I don't have anything else to do. And this is what I usually do at nighttime while my husband's watching the westerns, is I'll sit and quilt a couple hours before bedtime. So this is not something that I can do all the time. I can lay it to the side and just work on it when I want to. But this is what you do to quilt, and I got a lot of it to do on this quilt because it turned out bigger than what I anticipated it to do. There's 20 squares in it, and each one of the squares and each one of the circles will be quilted around. Besides, it has a pattern in the middle you can see here, and it's hand quilted, and I go around all the sides, inside and out, all the way around. So it will be a beautiful quilt when I get it done. Good morning, guys. This is me, my Dixie. And guess what? I have my lap quilt finished. Now everything on this lap quilt, all the embroidery, all the quilting, everything is done by hand. Binding and all. I finished it last night. And the back side, you can see it's really busy, but everything is done by hand. And I'm kind of proud of this little thing. That way, when it gets cool, instead of having to turn the heat pump on or build a fire, I can just snuggle with this little lap quilt across my lap. So my lap quilt is done, this project's done, and I'm ready to start another one.
Thanks for watching. Y'all come back.